Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Girls Lounge with your hosts, Liz and KT. And today's episode is going to be all about just parasocial relationships. We're just going to be, talking off the cuff with this one. We have a couple of things that certain what's it called, like pillars, I guess the conversation will stand on, but it's going to be kind of a more free flowing conversation, and I think it's going to be a really good one because I feel like parasocial relationships have been a big topic of conversation within the past couple years on social media. So I'm super excited. And before we get into it, apologies for no episode last week. We had like two times trying to record this episode. The first time Elizabeth fell asleep, and then the second time I came down with like some weird stomach thing, and like I had to leave work early and everything. So your girl was not well, but we are all well today, this fine Sunday, to record this episode.
Yeah, like Kennedy said last week, I don't know what came over me, you guys. I was literally waiting for Kennedy's text and she said, "Oh, I'm all ready." Next thing I know, I like knocked out for a whole hour. So I guess the universe just wanted us to record this week. But my little life update for you guys before we get into the topic of our episode is that I finally moved. I finally have my own room. For those of you guys who don't know, I was living with my friend Jill in her one bedroom, and I had like a little corner in the living room that we kind of set up as my like bedroom, in the moment, with like a beanbag mattress that she had, which was so comfortable and it did me right. But we have finally moved. We are in a two-bedroom, so I finally have like my own little space and everything. And actually, as we're recording this, I'm currently sitting on my new bed. I got it off Facebook Marketplace, like the bed frame. And yeah, you guys, I think the universe just wanted me to have like a proper place to sit for this episode. But yeah, so exciting. But also, like, the universe was really testing me last week. Obviously, we had like our mishaps with recording the episode. And then I've like the whole moving process was so stressful, low key, because it was kind of like, the place wasn't ready when we were told it was going to be ready, then it was ready, and it was just kind of like a lot of back and forth. But everything worked out the way it was supposed to work out. I truly do believe that. And yeah, finally in our new place, and we're slowly but surely getting things set up. We don't currently have a couch. Our living room is literally our little subway table that Jill had, with like two little chairs. So that's all that's in our living room, plus the beanbag, of course. But we are slowly but surely starting to like make this place home, and I'm so excited about that. And then my other little like side piece thing that I've done is I've been watching so many movies this past week. I don't know what it is, you guys, but I've just been watching movies back to back. Specifically watched two sad movies from TikTok. I literally got one TikTok of them. I watched them back to back. I guess I was just, my For You page was giving me sad stuff algorithm because I saw one TikTok about people like crying. I saw nothing else, didn't know anything about the plot, and I went completely blind into these movies. But one of them is called, they're both on Netflix, but one of them is called Don't Say Good Luck. And it's actually, I think it's trending on Netflix. Low key, KT, I don't think you'd like it because there is cancer involved, but it's cancer not in like your typical like Fault in Our Stars movie. It's more like of a familiar mother-daughter relationship, and I don't know, I just felt like myself relating a little bit to the daughter because she's like the oldest in the family, so that was cool. And then the other movie that I watched, it's called Even If This Love Disappears, and it is a Korean movie. And you guys, that movie completely like took me for a loop, and it ended in a way that I did not expect to end at all. I think you should definitely watch it, Kennedy. It was a movie where like I don't even want to give away too much. Just know that halfway through the movie, I thought it was going one way and I was sad about that one thing. But then halfway through, they threw us for a loop and plot twist, and it ended in a completely different way, a whole other more depressing, gut wrenching way than I thought it was already going. So that was, I had a little sad night, movie night, but that's what I've been up to this past week.
Yeah, I've been seeing some things about Don't Say Good Luck because that's the Adam Sandler, like his daughter. That's her movie, right? One of his
I
daughters
had
is in it.
no clue, but now that you mention it, I think it is. I'm pretty sure that is. No wonder the movie's trending, because I was like, I mean, it was like a good movie and everything, nothing wrong with it. It did what it needed to, but I was also like, why is it trending? Like on Netflix, because it was like up there, like top five. Now that makes even more sense.
Yeah, so I've seen stuff about it and people being like, oh my gosh, I went into this blind and now I'm crying. So yeah, it's definitely on my list, but it may be lower on my list after hearing about the sickness, because I don't know, I just have a weird thing about those movies. It's not that I don't like those movies, it's just like I like to be sad, but like when it comes to like cancer or stuff, I'm just like so for some reason that really gets me to myself. I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
No, that's like so understandable. But I will say this movie did it completely different than like your typical romance movie that I feel like have like the one with Cole Sprouse, like I said, Fault in Our. It was very different from those kind of like there's an illness movie. But real quick, you guys, I didn't have this on my like little outline, but I feel I just wanted to like random thought that's on my head. I feel this past week, you guys, I have felt like an unemployed person. I have like not like I've worked because I've been like on call, but I literally wasn't used at all for like the entire week. So I literally felt I was like living the like stay at home daughter living in the city, parents providing for her life is what I had like in my head and everything. I don't know, it was just like making myself busy, you know, like didn't have like a real 9 to 5, and then I'd be out and about and it'd be other people without real 9 to 5s. I don't know, it felt like a crazy moment to be living in. But this past weekend, I did get used for work, and it was the most perfect way to be used. I got a 2 day trip. It was one leg, you guys. It was in San Antonio, so it was hot. I literally like was laying out at the pool the entire day. That was just like chef's kiss, my perfect layover moment where like I was at the pool all day, went back downstairs, took a good shower. They had robes, so I literally put my hair up in a towel, put on a robe, watched a little bit of Netflix. Like that was just the perfect way to end my week of not working but like working. I don't know. That was just a really random thought, and I just wanted to like ramble about that.
Honestly, the past week has been, I feel like it's been a weird week for everyone, but this weekend has, I feel like it's been good weather for people in the south, because even in Kentucky, like it's been a porch weekend. I've spent lots of hours on my front porch just chilling, taking in all the sun. But for what I've been up to, honestly, nothing much. I've been living in my own world, honestly. I feel like if you have seen the Wicked, live action movies, y'all know how Glinda, she's in her little pink bubble. That's how I feel going through the world. I'm just like, la 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 la. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I feel like that's how I'm coping with everything, whatever that means. That's how I'm coping with life, is living in my own pink bubble. And since the last time we recorded, it was my birthday. I turned 23. Yay. I didn't think I was gonna like feel excited for my birthday, just because like leading up, I feel like it was a lot of uncertainty with like things at my job. So I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like feel happy about it. But I did have the day off before my birthday, which I feel like helped me like, get into the mood to be excited, because I had my dream day, which is laying in bed and doing nothing. So that was exciting. And then I went to a really cool restaurant in a church that I've been wanting to try for a minute. And I got some cool gifts, and I don't know. And I bought myself some cool things, which I'm happy about. So shameless plug for my YouTube, but my birthday vlog will be coming out sometime soon. And then, yeah. And then, oh, on my birthday, my actual birthday, which is on a Saturday, I watched The End of Oak Street, which is a movie that came out the 14th with Anne Hathaway in it, and I actually liked it. I'm not gonna say it's the most amazing movie. Like, it's definitely one of those movies that like it's in the theaters, but like if you really wanted to, like you could wait and watch it until like it's on streaming services, because it's not like, oh, you have to go see it, but it's essentially like a Jurassic World type movie where the dinosaurs come. But I really liked it. It was a good mix of like funny and like shocking, and I love Anne Hathaway, like Princess Diaries, duh, like that's my girl. So I love to see her and in anything. And then actually yesterday I finished Sterling Point, which I just absolutely love. Me and Elizabeth were just talking about it earlier today, and I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say, for those of you, if you know, you know, one, the little montage scene in the last episode got me. I mean, the last episode I was so emotional. Like it was just so many good emotional moments. And two, I am team Ellis. I love Rory, don't get me wrong. Like truly, like love triangles in like TV shows or movies is typically like very clear, like who's the clear right choice. And it's like, while I do prefer, or while I am team Ellis, it's just like I also love Rory equally as well. But it truly is just like I'm team whoever I think Annie meshes with the best. But I love Rory too, and like the fact I just have to say props to him because he is actually Scottish, I believe, and he has such a thick accent, but you would never know because his American accent is just so freaking good. And both boys were both good looking, so that makes it like even like easier or not even easier, harder to root because usually again with the so clear choice, it's like okay one looks better than the other, but I think they're both equally really cute. But yeah, love Sterling Point, and I feel like out of all like the recent teen dramas that have come out, especially ones with love triangles, I feel like this one was like very different, and the plot twists were plot twisting. I will say there was one plot twist that I did not see coming, but overall, really good show. Mark Ruffalo's son, loved his character because he's just like so like annoying and is like bruh, but like he played it so well. So props to literally everyone. I'm obsessed with Ella Rubin now. I literally just followed her on Instagram today, and I'm so excited for season two.
Yes, like Kennedy said, I think that out of all of like the your typical teenage shows that have like a love like a not love story, a love triangle, I feel like a lot of them revolve around the love triangle. But Sterling Point, the love triangle wasn't the focus of the show, which I feel like made it better in its own way. And like Kennedy, I was rooting for both at one point, you guys. And that's how you know because I'm one of those people who like I will stick by one character and I will stand by them until the very end, even if like nobody else agrees with me. But for this show, I was rooting for both of them at one point. You know, like they both did their thing, so I think everybody should watch it. I also thought it was super super relatable, just like the anxiety, the way it's displayed, just every single scene had its own way, and I think it depicts what like it is. I think it depicts accurately what it's like to go through what the characters were going through in a way, you know. And the montage scene, like that is something I feel like if you know, you know, but also without like spoiling, obviously, I feel like that scene, if you know what we're talking about, then it's one of those scenes that I feel like even in your own head, you sometimes like imagine like when you go into those deep spirally thoughts where you're like what if this happened or something, you kind of like imagine like life as that, you know. I think the montage is such a good way of like depicting that and depicting what it was depicting without spoiling. But I think everybody should watch it. And like Kenny said, it finally got renewed for season two, you guys. They were scaring me a little bit because they took their time with renewing it. And I was like, I feel like it has to get renewed with the amount of edits I've seen and the amount of likes and like just how much people are talking about this show. Even like more older people were like, this is such a good show and everything. And yeah, but it's all renewed and that's all that matters. And all I know is that they better be popping it out like next year or maybe like, you know, early next year.
Yes, and fun fact for the girlies who watch The Secret Life of American Teenager or A Secret Life of an American Teenager, whichever word that goes, the girl who was it Grace? The girl who, had sex and then her father died. Yeah, that actor, she is actually the director of this show, which I thought was really cool. And honestly, I just love her directing style. Yes, to more women directors, they know what they're doing. And I love because I've seen a couple clips on like behind the scenes of like her directing style, and she said like she really encouraged them to like kind of like go off script a bit, which blends into why everyone's like this dialogue just feels so real, especially because they're Gen Z, because it's like kind of real. And she gave them kind of the open space to have that creative freedom, which I think really helped the show out in the long run. But yeah, I just thought that was a really cool fact once I found that out.
Yes, I love that specifically how like a lot of the characters, a lot of it was kind of not improv in a sense, but I guess improv, like they went off script to like really captivate like what was going on in the scenes. And I feel like that's really cool to see actors be able to take that like creative freedom and control with it. And I think it really turned out or like played out in the best way possible.
But yeah, so Sterling Point, go watch. And then just one little thing. I have one little life thing for any of my other sports girlies that are watching. It has been a good sports day for moi. And let's just say F1, amazing. Lando Norris won the Dutch Grand Prix. And y'all, this is like the last Dutch Grand Prix for like the foreseeable future, I believe, because they do this. They switch in and out races and stuff. So like that's sad. And like I just mostly wanted to talk about it because can we just talk about like when Max like crashed because he hit that spot on the track, how Bortoletto did a full 360 in the background but still was able to save it, not hit anyone, and keep going. I'm like, yep, you ate that. And then for any of my tennis girlies, I have the Cincinnati Open on my TV right now. I just finished watching the Arthur and Tiafo final, and I was rooting for My American, but for the women's, we have Coco and Jessica, I believe, Palooka. So All American final. I'm rooting for Coco, of course. So I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it for any of my sports girlies who can relate. Hit me up if you want to talk about it.
And a quick side note, you guys, as we're currently recording this, so like I said, my bedroom is like a work in progress, slowly but surely. I think the next thing that we're gonna have to get in here is some curtains ASAP. So, like, the way my building is set up, my room, the windows, so if this is like, if you guys are watching on camera, it's side by side two buildings. So, like, I see into these other people's windows across the street and they see into mine, but it's close enough where you can like see inside. And there's currently like one couple like out on their patio, and I feel their stares, you guys. Also, they're a couple that I swear they be having like daily smoke sessions because they be having like bongs out there and like, and I feel the presence. So next up, you guys, I will have curtains. This is me like putting it out there that I'm gonna have curtains ASAP.
Yeah, I saw some commotion over on Elizabeth's side. I'm like, oh, what happened?
Yeah, don't mind me just kind of like looking over and being like, oh, not people out there. But anyways, you guys, my song of the week is "Look at My Life" by Gracie Abrams. I've had Gracie just on repeat, and it's my goal to go see her in concert one day. But here is my favorite part for you guys. And that's my song of the week.
Two thoughts I just had. Sorry, this is like so like I don't have ADHD, but I just had to get these out of my brain while Liz was talking. One, so Elizabeth was small on my screen for a moment, but I just enlarged it. I'm like, wow, Liz really got some sun this weekend. Period. So
No,
random thought number
because
one.
random thought going off Kennedy's random thought, me looking at myself on the camera, I was like, oh dang. Like, I think, I was joking when I said I'm gonna lay out the pool and get all the sun that I haven't gotten this summer. I think I very much did. I'm looking very tan. Glad that you also noticed it.
Yes, and then second, you say that you want to go to Gracie Abrams. That just reminded me that I was listening to Sabrina Carpenter last night, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait till she goes on tour again. Literally has nothing to do with Gracie, but I wanna see Sabrina on tour.
We're just manifesting concerts for us, you guys, and tours.
Yes. And my song of the week is a house music song. I really can't remember if I've had this before. I've changed my song of the week this week like 4 times. I'm not even joking. So, yeah, but today's song this week is going to be I'm Not Alone, the MPH remix by Calvin Harris and MPH. Let's get it. There's words that go before that really hits the vibes, but like I can only play so much for you guys. But go listen to that song. I love that song so much. I have a vision in my head that like I'm in the club with my friends and that song's play, except maybe Kelsey's not there because she doesn't like house music. So
Dang, Kimmy's just throwing shade at anything and everyone, you guys. No, but like, you guys, this really be how Kennedy be on a daily. Like, in our group chat, nobody says anything, and she just comes for them. She just comes for them unprovoked. So
that's my
yeah.
love language because I think in another life I was British.
Oh, I don't know the correlation there, but what are
Because do
we?
you ever do you ever watch like a lot of like British content and they're always like Americans they don't understand sarcasm, they don't take the piss out of each other. Like yeah. I feel like in British culture like they would love to take the piss out of each other.
Loved the accent that you threw in there.
People are gonna be like, what's wrong with Elizabeth and KT this episode? And I don't know, love. I really don't know. But
I think that just
anyways,
sums up everything.
no, for real. But today, we're going to be talking about parasocial relationships, which me and Liz are the perfect people to talk about this. But me and Liz are the perfect people to talk about parasocial relationships because we have been on the internet since we were young children when we probably weren't supposed to. And we have not only, been part, like, we have definitely are parasocial fans to an extent probably, but then we also experience it like we see it, like we see it happening to like other people. So like we're the perfect people, we're Gen Z, we know everything about parasocial relationships. JK. But yeah, this is a really exciting topic. I got inspired to talk about this after a pretty basic episode.
And I know exactly which pretty basic episode you were talking about because when I was listening to that, I like was like, oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts about this. Like, they're bringing so many good points because I feel before we like get into it too much, I feel that parasocial relationships now are completely different than parasocial relationships when they first began. There's like an extreme with like obviously technology being so crazy now. But yeah, I think it's super crazy, and that's how we're gonna talk about it.
Yes, it definitely has changed over time, which kind of we'll touch on in a minute with the definition. But I put up the definition of what exactly a parasocial relationship is because, like many terms on the internet, people learn a new word that has been around forever and then they just throw it around and the meaning kind of dilutes and stuff. So we're going to give y'all the real definition if you don't know. But Google says a parasocial relationship is a one sided connection where a person feels a deep sense of friendship, intimacy, or knowingness toward a public figure, fictional character, or online persona who does not know they exist. So we're going to quickly get into the origins and context. So it was coined in 1956. Sociologists Donald Horton and Richard Wall introduced the term to describe how early television viewers felt intimate bonds with TV hosts and actors talking directly to the camera. And then that kind of like falls into like it kind of started when TVs were like first introduced into the homes. So it's like, you're in your home. So that's already like a personal intimate setting, so like for them to be displayed in your home, that's how it kind of, that relationship forms. And then modern media, it says the rise of social media, podcasts, and streaming platforms intensified these feelings because creators share raw personal details and chat directly with chat rooms, making the dynamic feel like a casual two-way friendship. And then some comic examples, it says fans feeling genuine grief over a celebrity's death, treating a podcaster like a close buddy, or feeling personally betrayed when an influencer makes a life decision they disagree with. So thank you, Google, for that because I think that was a really good definition. And we're going to kind of split it up, talk about like influencers and like celebrity culture with parasocial relationships, and then like true crime and kind of the flip side of where influencers and celebrities are being parasocial themselves and kind of feed into it. So all very interesting, but we'll start off with regular people being parasocial to influencers and celebrities. I think we can all agree that there are people that get way too invested into influencers' personal lives. And my main note is like, people at the end of the day forget that we do not really know these people at the end of the day. Like, yes, we see a part of their lives and they open themselves up so it feels like we know them, but like truly at the end of the day, like if I were to go up to say hi to them in a street, it's like, what do I really know about them? You know what I mean?
And I feel like with that, honestly, I feel like there's a difference between like being parasocial with influencers compared to celebrities, because a lot of the celebrities that like we're parasocial with, I feel like it's a normal, well, all of this, like there is extremes, but there is those like crazy, crazy people. But like on an everyday scale, I feel like with celebrities, it's more of a like quote unquote normal parasocial relationship where like the celebrity for the most, like your traditional actors, singers, those kind of celebrities, they're not really like putting out their entire life out there for you. Like they're known for what they do, and because of that they have like people follow them and they have traction and people see like when they do stuff, but it's not that they're putting out their entire life, like for example, I don't know, I'm thinking of like your traditional movie stars like Tom Cruise. I don't know why he came to my head. Like your OGs like Jennifer Aniston, like all of these original celebrities, they're not really putting out their life for us. Like they're not over here vlogging with a camera. Like we really just see them, when they're producing something, when they're in something, and then just like when the media is following them around. But other than that, we don't really know too much of them. And then I feel like with the influencers nowadays, that's where we have like the crazy, crazy parasocial relationships, and those are the different kind of parasocial relationships that we're seeing more so now, where that is like they're putting out their life. Yes, they're not putting out like their whole life, but they're putting out a lot more than like celebrities are. They're more willingly putting stuff out there, which I feel like that's kind of like a difference between influencers and celebrities too.
But I will say that I do think with just the way social media is today, it has impacted the industry where I think where some celebrities they don't necessarily want to be on social media, but like they kind of have to be. And some celebrities like Somber, for example, like they just naturally post more on social media. But I would say for me, like for some reason, the main thing that comes into mind is like dating. When it comes to like people getting parasocial for both influencers and celebrities is like, let's say, like Timothy Chalamet, like because they're like the biggest, Timothy Chalamet or like Harry Styles, I would say, when it comes to dating. I feel like that's when you can really see like these parasocial dynamics play, because it's people like, oh, why would he date this person? And listen, I'm guilty of this too, except the thing is I don't put it out on the internet, but it's just like, why would he date this person? Like, get away from, like, he needs to get away from her. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, we, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, we're just gonna go into Timothy Chalamet, like really deep dive into him, because like that's like my bread and butter. I don't know too much about like Harry Styles, because I know there's thoughts about his relationship with Zoe Kravitz, but like Harry Styles or Timothy Chalamet and Kylie Jenner, it's like people are like, oh, like, why would he date her? She's so this, and like we miss when he was this way. But it's like, we don't know him. Like, that's kind of weird to say. Like, we don't know him enough to be like, he shouldn't date this person. If that makes sense. Like, it's kind of weird to be like, oh, we missed this version of someone, but at the end of the day, it's just like people grow. I don't even know if that's necessarily like a good example, but hopefully you
No,
guys
I think
understand what
it
I mean.
is, and I think that makes sense because I feel like we're all guilty of it. Specifically, I feel like relationships just bring out the worst in people, you guys. They really do. They bring out the worst in people. Specifically being like a fan and everything, it's like, why would they be with that person? Like that person's like obviously like not a good person. Why would you want to be associated with that person? And like Kimmy said, it's like we don't know, like we, for all we know, they get along, they're the same kind of person, but like in our mind we have like a picture of that person and we're like, obviously they wouldn't mesh, like what's going on, like he's so much more like a better person than she is or something like that, you know. And we are all guilty of it, like me and Kitty over here critiquing it, but we do recognize that we do at the end of the day also be doing this. But like Kitty said, I think she brought up a good point of like, we're not out here putting it on the internet and everything, like we're not making content of like hating on them too, because I feel like that's where like you get that extreme level of parasocial, and people feel like they know this person to an intimate level and they can go out there and comment and make like really big comments about it. Like it's one thing I feel like to talk with your friends about it, and it's another thing to really like put out hateful content about it, because I feel like a lot of these parasocial relationships end up going, unfortunately, more towards like that negative side, and it's like more hate than like love and support for this person that you claim to love, you know. And I feel like that's where we get like the bad reputation or the bad label of having a parasocial relationship, like, you know, us normal people, you know, that have like a quote unquote normal parasocial relationship, then we're labeled crazy for like also having maybe similar thoughts, but we're not. But it's different, you know. Again, people take it to an extreme.
But I would also say it's kind of like it's kind of like the club Chalamet. Like, those are kind of like the people I'm talking about, where it's like they genuinely like some of the actions, they kind of related to his character, but it's like we never knew his character or this person's character in the first place. And it's like people make bold assumptions about not even just Timothy, but people in general. And like, for another thing, like even people could be parasocial about like friendships and like celebrity friendships, and they just like think so deeply into it. And it's like, oh my gosh. Oh, I guess a good example maybe again would be the whole like Mika situation. If you watch Off Campus, there's a clip from an old podcast that when she was still with Jake, and people off of one little clip made assumptions over a year-long relationship. And it's like, you guys are actually kind of crazy. Like, I understand the clip is like very like taken out of context and stuff, and if like you don't know Jake Short, that podcast, or anything, or even know their relationship dynamic, it's like kind of crazy. And then like with friendships and stuff, I guess like we can like the Outer Banks cast, I think it's obvious something went on, but people are so very parasocial about those friendships as well. So it's just like when people kind of in a way act like they know something and like make these bold claims on online, if that makes sense, about, I think it's like the main thing where they make bold claims about people's characters based off relationships or friendships and stuff like that. And it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I was gonna say with that, I think it's crazy when people, and I think that's what the issue with is. That is what the issue is with these parasocial relationships. Is where people are making like the reality that they have in their head, they're claiming that, they're taking it as a truth, and they're spreading that as the truth, and that's where you get like the crazy level, like where we're over here, you know, well, not me and Kimmy because we don't really do this, but the people who like really have like all these like theories and stuff of like with friendships. I think you see it the most of like why they split up, why they don't talk to each other, like all the tea, like notice that in the interviews. And it's a crazy amount of digging that they have to do, I feel like, to get to that point, which is also like just insane the amount of energy and time they're spending on these people that they don't know. Like if you really think about like, I don't know, I feel like when any new influencer, because I feel like this happens more with the influencers, or I guess like newer celebrities now that we're starting to like cast newer people in roles and everything. But when people dig things up from their past, the amount of like digging that they have to do to be able to find that, because most of the time it's not even like content that is on these like celebrities and influencers pages, it's that they're going through like a deep dive of like going from this person to this person to this person to this person, and like just I think it is actually insane the amount of time and energy that is spent on that. And like, just imagine if we put that time and energy, because obviously these people are really smart to be able to find that kind of stuff the way that they do. Like, don't get me wrong, I be doing some Instagram stalking, digging, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but not that good. Not that good, you guys. My expertise ends at the tags. But just like if they spent that energy on something else, it's just
Like
crazy to me.
voting.
Like, yeah, like literally anything civic, anything like good for society, that would actually be insane. And I think that that's where like the parasocial relationships get like to an extreme, is when we're
Yeah,
taking the truth that we have in our head and we spread it as the truth.
we're like projecting it onto them. And while you were talking, it reminded me on where all that comes from is like also kind of like a sense of entitlement. I feel like that's another part of parasocial relationships. These people feel entitled to know these things about these other people, like where they live, the layout of their house, who they're talking to. Like I think that's a big reason why like once celebrities, for example, get big, they unfollow everyone because people just dig. And then that's why big influencers like Alex Earl, who built a platform off of sharing, kind of, stop sharing more because people just feel so entitled to just like comment whatever or just say whatever to her because they feel like they can because she's an influencer. We know so much about her because she's opened up so much, but it's like, no, like you guys still need to be respectful. At the end of the day, we still don't know Alex Earl like that, if you know what I mean. And like for example, with her recently, I know she's been getting like a lot of hate in her comments because God forbid a girl in her 20s like parties and everyone has a comment about it, and they try to act like they know what's going on in her life, and they try to act like they know what's best for her, and like she shouldn't be hanging out with these people. Like I know people don't like her hanging out with Stas, so like that's it. Another thing, people just feel like so entitled to that. And I know like she said something. I one time she mentioned like a story about how she had an awkward run-in with someone and people were mad because she didn't name drop. But I'm like, why do you guys feel so entitled to know that information? Just be happy that she even opened up and told like this interesting funny that I'm sure can in some ways be relatable to a lot of people. How someone did you dirty and you have to see them again. It's just kind of like, oh. So again, I feel like a sense of entitlement is a big part of the parasocial conversation as well.
And with entitlement, it's like entitlement in the sense of like you feel that you need to know everything because they gave you a little snippet, because truly what they're giving you is the tiniest snippet. You feel that you need to know the entire story, the entire life, the entire everything, which is, I think, insane, because I feel like even with like the people that you know in real life, you're not entitled to know everything that's going on, or like every you're only at the end of the day, you're only entitled to know what somebody is showing you. And if they're not showing you something, you're not entitled to know the rest of it. That would be like if you like someone, I don't know why my mind's going to this, but someone's pregnant and you're like you feel entitled to know like everything that's going on in the pregnancy, everything, but like no, like you should only take what the person gives you, unless you truly have established that kind of like connection and like honesty with each other, I guess, which I feel like is truly only like with your closest family and your closest friends. You're not entitled to know everything, you guys. And I think that is insane that we're doing that with people that we have literally never met, never going to meet either. Like, that's actually crazy.
Heavy on pregnancy because that just comes into mind because I know me and Liz, we both follow who we call the Florida girlies, Greta, Natalie, all of them. And recently Natty I'm like my best friend
Natalie.
Natty. My oh my god, I almost said my friend. See, we're victims of it too. But they are both they recently just had their babies, and one thing that has always bothered me is how people kind of just hound their comments so much about, oh, have you had your baby, have you had this yet, when they're just posting kind of like regular content. And to me that's a little bit parasocial, because it's like, again, why do you feel entitled to kind of like know that information? Like, they'll
And to
tell
be the
us when
first
they're
ones to
ready.
know, that's the issue. It's like they want to be the first ones in the know. Like they don't even know who you are. And most of the time, it's like it's people with like no profile picture. Like I think that the most parasocial people are literally hiding behind a profile picture, you guys. And I think that's crazy too.
Yeah, and just I know um Remy and Alicia in their episode, they're kind of talking about like the safety aspects of it all, on how like you don't show like the layout of your house or anything like that, because
You never
that
know.
yeah, you never know who's watching. And it makes me think of like how sometimes people really want like apartment tours, or people really want to know where someone's moving. There's actually a YouTuber that I just like see, her name is Emma Marie, and she's planning on moving, but she hasn't announced it. People are genuinely mad because they don't know where she's moving, which is, again, we know that there's these safety concerns when it comes to showing where you live, or even saying where you actually live, yet people still feel so entitled to know where like someone lives, or what their environment looks like. But it's like, one, you're not entitled to that information, like we've been saying, and two, it's just not safe. I think many like influencers stuff, if we knew the internet was safe and our content was truly only going to like the people that really care, just are just like curious with no bad intentions, oh, we would be showing everything. But like, unfortunately, that's just not how the internet works. And I feel like entitlement also with like people's romantic relationships, specifically with influencers, as well, as like a big thing. On people want to see more of like their relationship, or little things like that, I think can get very parasocial as well. I don't know, I kind of rambled all over the place, but hopefully that made sense for that section.
And our next little section is we titled it True Crime. Not everything is true crime, but I feel like it all encompasses the same category that we have here for you guys.
Yes, it's a blanket term, I would say. I don't even know if these technically are like good examples of parasocial relationships, but I feel like it's a good example of kind of like the herd mentality that comes on social media, and which feed parasocial relationships and stuff, in my opinion. Like, for example, at the time we're filming this, Nancy Clancy, wait, is that even her name? What is her name?
Is it not Nancy Clancy or Nancy? I feel like it
i
rhymes.
I
Let me
know,
look it up.
I'm like, wait a minute, I feel like that's like, I'm like a Nancy Clancy, it feels like I'm almost
Yeah,
saying fancy Nancy.
Nancy Clancy trial.
Okay, I don't know why I
Yeah.
felt weird saying that. Okay,
No, because
so
it sounds like you said Fancy Nancy.
yeah, I'm like, is that a real name? But anyways, just the Nancy Clancy case, and the Idaho 5 case has, it comes and goes with like new information that comes out, but it's just like more so, like, I don't know, is this parasocial? You guys can let me know, Elizabeth can let me know. But like, with those two things, I know with the Idaho 5 case, a lot of people till this day think that one of the roommates had stuff to do with it. And just the way that on social media they have just like come up with these theories, and they just like hound that girl. And still to this day, I mean, we obviously know who the perpetrator is, there's all this evidence, and it was just a gruesome case, yet people just still believe this. And it's just like, I don't know. Is that parasocial? And then same with
I real
the,
quick
oh,
with like that with the Idaho one because I feel like I might have a little different thoughts on both. But with the Idaho one, I think that I didn't realize that people still like sent hate and like came for one of the roommates, the one of the survivor ones. I didn't realize that was a thing, and I think that's crazy because the fact that like it's been proved who did it, and like that person is literally in jail paying for it, and they had like this whole thing, a whole trial and everything, and it was still proved that he was the one who did it. I think you gotta let these people move on, especially when like they're the ones that are living with this. Like they are going to live with this for the rest of their lives. And then to add to that trauma and be like, you actually did it, like you did it, that is a different level. And I do think that that would be parasocial because again, we have, I keep on saying we, and I don't want you guys to think that me and Kennedy are this level of crazy parasocials, but the parasocialers, the the extreme people, like again, it really is like they have in their head this idea of what the truth is, because I don't know why they think that they are entitled. Again, it's entitlement, you guys. I really think it is. And that they have this idea that like no, it can't be the one who did it, and it's obviously one of them. Like, especially just because they are the ones living with it, I think that that is definitely a crazy extreme level of parasocial.
And I definitely think it's like they forget that at the end of the day, like to them it may, for like a better words, be true crime content, maybe quote unquote entertainment, but at the end of the day, these are real people that died and lost their lives, and the whole thing is horrific. But we're just not gonna believe that people who poured in hours of detective work and like policing, like we're just gonna ignore all of that because you guys who went to TikTok University think y'all know better than trained professionals. That's so weird. And so yeah, so there's that. It's just like so parasocial. And then like with the Nancy Clancy case, I don't know why I feel so weird saying that. For me, the main thing is I know me and Liz have differing thoughts about this, but I'll tell you guys my thoughts. Well, actually, I don't think I really know Elizabeth's thoughts. I know she, yeah. Anyways, I'll just say what I'm thinking. Where I think it gets parasocial again is me personally. I remember seeing this case when it first broke out. I I try to listen to quote unquote true crime very ethically. I only listen to like only listen to like two or three true crime shows who really, put an emphasis on the victims and really focus on telling the facts and are not about the quote unquote entertainment, because it's very like disrespectful, because at the end of the day these are people that lost their lives. So with that being said, with the Nancy Clancy case, I do believe she did it. Like I know there's a big conspiracy that she did it, and from what I know, this trial that she's on right now isn't whether or not she did it or not. It's whether she's going to jail or like a mental place. So it's like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, she did it. You can't convince me. I'm not gonna argue with these detectives facts or whatever, but just like the fact that some of these people are just so like gun ho, like, oh, the husband did it, and it's just like they're just kind of like making stuff up again, kind of like the same stuff with what they're doing towards like the other girl, just like, oh, he has like a wife and kids and yada yada yada. I'm just like, I think it's easy for you to like say things when you've never been through something so specific, and I think all of it is taking away from the real fact that Nancy was struggling. She was probably experiencing, postpartum psychosis or whatever they're discussing, and that's very real. I mean, there's so many stories that have been overlooked about it, and I think people, in my opinion, it's just like so out of this world. Like, how could this mother do this? That they are kind of like, oh, wait, there's no way this could have happened. Like, it had to be something else, which I feel like kind of takes away from like the advocacy that could be going towards postpartum psychosis and just like postpartum anxiety, depression, everything.
I was just gonna say, I see what you're saying. Like, I do agree with that. I do agree with like, I feel like we're focusing too much, and like the parasocialness of this has become too much focus on him when we shouldn't be giving him any like whether he did it or he did. I personally, I don't know the videos I've seen. I don't know. I feel like if I don't think she did it in a state of like she wanted to do it, so either she did it in a state of like she was, mentally not there, or I low key do think that he, had a little something to do with it. But besides the point, you guys, what I was gonna say was, I think that we shouldn't be giving him any energy whether he did it or didn't do it. I think that he is a very sus man in general. But I think that like at the end of the day, we're losing like the parasocialness of this, of like all the conspiracy of it, and like everything that's going on. It has taken away attention from like the real root cause issue here, which is the like postpartum depression, everything. And I feel like nobody's really talking about that, or if they are, it's very few people that are talking about it, and more so people are focused on the fact that like he did it, he did it, he did it, and we're not like giving attention where it is warranted and everything. And I feel like that is the issue with like the the parasocialness of this like case and everything. And like granted, like at the end of the day, if like they prove that she did it and everything, then I'm not gonna be one of those people that are gonna be sending death threats to him or anything. I think again that would be like the Idaho 5 case and everything. But I do think that it is like the Paris. There's a when it comes to true crime, especially like things that are like actively not even investigating because they're not investigating, but like active trials and active things that are currently going on, the parasocialness of it, I think, takes away attention from like where the attention should be placed and everything. And it kind of like makes it almost like a TV show movie, like it takes away kind of like the humanity, real lifeness of it, and it kind of makes it like a fictional story that's going on in your head, which I think that that is like the issue when it comes specifically to true crime.
Yes, I agree. And we're forgetting that at the end of the day, not even with just the cases we're talking about, but in general, people's lives ended way too soon in a gruesome manner. And so we should be honoring that and keeping the victims' names alive. But people are deciding to entertain internet conspiracy theories. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for that, for like more national cases. But when it comes to influencers, I mean, everyday people, we are not immune to tragedies happening in our own lives. And we definitely saw that through the Emily Kaiser. This is not necessarily true crime. I didn't just really know how to like place her, but she's like adjacent because unfortunately she had a son that passed away. Um, Due to a drowning incident, and it just became like worldwide news. Like it was just blasted everywhere. And still till this day, some of the comments and backlash and just like comments she gets from people is insane. Like just recently she had to like take a break because her people saw that her other son that she still has did not have a life vest, and just like the way people came for her. And it's like, again, at the end of the day, you can have these opinions about her, but her and her husband are the ones that are actively dealing with this loss and this grief every day. Again, which is nothing, none of us, all these things we're talking about, none of us would know anything about how to deal with it if we, like, unless we were in those situations, which I hope none of us ever have to be in. So it's again just people like, especially with the influencer like Emily, who, was vlogs her life. I feel like people definitely feel like they know her more, like she's like a friend or something. And so when a tragedy happens, they just feel like they can just attack her and be cruel, especially when like a lot of people, I feel like, think that she should have left Brady and she's still with him. So back to what our the definition was saying, when when someone doesn't act the way that we think they do, then people get mad because they feel like they know this person and know what's best for them, and yada yada yada.
And once again, you guys, entitlement. I think it is insane because I am someone who like watched Emily Clark. I still watch her and everything, like, but kept up with her content and everything like way before like anything happened, because obviously like the tragic event that happened like made her kind of like quote unquote like blow up more and get more attraction and attention. But I was watching her for years and like seeing just like the switch up even now when she's like come back to social media and everything. The like Kennedy said she recently had to take a break and everything because the amount of like comments that people leave, just like even when she's not like showing, because she doesn't show her son anymore or anything, but even like before the boat incident and everything, like the amount of entitlement that people have to like be like to judge her, to make videos, to make literally content videos about like she should have left her husband, like she should have done this, like blah blah blah, like literally pulling up receipts of like when she was choosing between having a pool fence or a net and everything. Like she has owned up to her mistakes, and if anything, she's the one that's living with it every single day. But again, people are literally so entitled to think that like they would know like this would never happen to them. Like nobody would think that this would ever happen to them. Like you never know, like in these like true crime blanket that we have, like in these like tragic events, you don't think that this is going to happen to you. Nobody ever does. And then when it happens to you, you react in the way that you see accordingly. But like nobody knows how they're truly going to react in those moments. And I think that's the issue with like just people, are taking these like tragic events and are like, well, they should have done this, they should have done that, they should have done that, like, and to make, and I think the crazy part about it, at least with like the true crime of it all, is to then to make content and like make a profit off of someone else's tragic event is, I think, insane, because at the end of the day these people are doing it for views, and when they get views they get money, you know, like that's the way that like TikTok and like a lot of social media platforms work. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're pushing buttons to do that. And I think that that is crazy that anyone would do that at the expense of someone else's tragedy.
And then our last little subcategory or just category of our parasocial conversation is going to be kind of the flip side. Because, yes, while we have gone on for the past 30 minutes or so talking about how, the normal day civilians can be parasocial, I do think that some celebrities and influencers definitely feed into that as well. And they kind of view their fans or their supporters like they have a really weird relationship with it, and I think it's bad for their mental health. So two things that came to mind when thinking of this is, one, when followers, or not when followers, when influencers call their followers best friends, besties. I tell you guys everything, you guys are my best friends. I physically cringe because I'm like, oh, like I understand because they're trying to create a sense of community, but to me, maybe because I'm 23 years old, I'm just so wise, but I'm just like, one, that creates such like a dangerous, like that plays a very dangerous sign because people are actually going to think that you're their friend. And then I just think like, oh, what if something happens? Like, for example, let's say you call your friends your besties, and then one day you decide that, you're pregnant and you're not going to share your kids. And then people are like, you're not going to share your kids? I thought we were friends. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't know. I feel like it can create a very slippery slope when you kind of like feed into it. And it's like, I get it because it is like you want to make your followers feel like they're part of your community, but like just call them your supporters. You do not have to call them your besties or friends. Again, I feel like that just kind of blurs the lines. And like to you, it might just seem like nothing, but to them on the other side, it might be like, oh my gosh, like this famous influencer thinks that we're best
I
friends.
think especially like in this day and age where like a lot of like post COVID and everything, a lot of social interactions for some people are strictly online interactions. I think specifically for those people who like don't have that social network and everything when it becomes really dangerous, because those are most likely the ones that are going to get more like attached in that way, you know, compared to someone that like is able to differentiate, you know, like besties community versus like besties best friends, like we know each other, like that kind of parasocialness. So I think that there is like the two differences, you know, because I know I follow a lot of people that I feel like say like supporters or like you guys are besties, but then they leave it at that. You know, like that's like your superficial community, you know, sense of community like Kennedy's talking about. But then it's the influencers that take it like a step further, you know, and like really emphasize it a little bit too much. And then I feel like that's when you get like what Kennedy said, just like when you some influencers do like house tours and stuff, like that's when you have that slippery slope of like showing too much or people wanting more and more and more and more. Like I feel like not even celebrities, but I feel like influencers and I guess some celebrities too should realize that like with parasocial relationships and the way that they're like going nowadays to like the extreme, once you give someone a little bit, they're just going to keep on pulling and want more and more and more. And then that's when you get like, you know, an influencer drawing the line and people hating on them and stuff like that. So I feel like it is definitely like a slippery slope and a hard line to like manage, you know, this day and age. But unfortunately, it's something that like has to happen just for like their safety. And also like there's some crazy people out there that will do crazy things. And then also just like if you have that sense of they're my best friend, but they're not like showing that kind of stuff, then that's like I feel like it's like a lose 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 on every single side of it.
Yes, and even with that, it's like at the end of the day, it's always going to be a one-sided relationship. Like the influencer or celebrity does not know you. You know more about them than they know about you. Like they don't even know your name. So again, it just creates a slippery slope. And I just think of this one influencer that has been popping up recently. Her name is Kennedy. She goes by Ken, but Ken Urich. I really like her content and stuff. So like, this is like no hate, but I just like see her stuff pop up. But I know she's extremely open with her followers to a detriment because like she's going through things with the ex boyfriend. But it's like extremely like she very much feeds into the parasocialness that comes with being a content creator. Like literally, she has been posting about her relationship, like the ins and outs of her relationship with this guy. One night they had like a fight, so she like quickly posted a TikTok about it. But situation, they like broke up or whatever, or they didn't break up, they had like a fight, but it's like she ended up taking him back. But see, that's the thing, she let them in. People got mad. They're like, you need to do this, girl, this is so embarrassing. But then she's like you guys are so mean to me, like da da da. So it's again, it's like she's giving a lot to these people, literally acting, truly acting like your besties on FaceTime, telling every single detail. So then when those people, lead into that parasocial relationship, and then that influencer is like, wait, then see, it creates
You're
a
doing a
whole,
little too much. You're hating a little too much right here. You're calling me out a little too much.
yeah, so it creates that weird balance that's like, see, this is why in the beginning I think everyone needs to have kind of boundaries of like, okay, we a community, but we not close like that. You know what I mean?
And I feel like, honestly, I feel like the OG influencers, I'm thinking like OG YouTubers, they have it down pat. Like it is, they show a lot, but they're also not showing too much. Like they know, since they like kind of like saw the way social media evolved, they evolved with it, and they show just enough, not too much. Like you can tell, like obviously, and even they say like this, I don't know if this is gonna make it, if this clip is gonna make it, this might get edited out. Like they mention that so much in their videos, I feel like. And then you have like this new age of influencers, and I feel like Ken is one of them, of like influencers that are just like, they don't know that fine line exists. And I feel like once you cross that fine line, it's too late. Like I mean, you can go back, but it's never like, you're still gonna have those people that connected in that way, that knew you were their bestie, that are not going to like the way that you're pushing back more. So I feel like it's like a lot of these newer influencers that really have to like figure out that line, and it's, you need to find it out quick, because if you do it too late, it's too late.
I agree. And one last little note about this, because we've been yapping, but there's this podcast that I actually heard about from, if you guys know, Ashley. Well, yes, but that's not what I want to get to. If you guys know Alicia and Remy, yes, that two duo. Ashley,
Alicia.
Alicia Alicia has a sister named Ashley, and Ashley and her friend Taryn have a podcast, and I heard about this podcast that I'm about to mention on their podcast called Unsolicited Advice. Go listen, it's actually pretty good. But there's this podcast series called Beth's Dead, which is really just ties into this whole topic of like what happens when an influencer slash celebrity slash public figure is parasocial with a fan, and how that can really just end badly. It's a crazy story, but again, like this podcast couple, like they just had just so much communication with this one of their quote unquote followers that would always comment, DM them. Like they would have like real deep conversations, and it was almost like they knew each other. And it just, the podcaster herself got way too emotionally connected, and she kind of got bamboozled. It was a whole big thing. So I think that podcast, I'm gonna shout it out, is a good kind of like, whoa, things could get crazy when you yourself as the public figure gets too invested. And I think we don't see this as much with celebrities, because I feel like celebrities really kind of have like that unlock. I feel like we kind of see them, depending on who they are, they kind of like pull back from the social media of it all. But I do think there are some celebrities, big celebrities out there who care way too much about what their fans are saying, the discourse that's going on about them online, and it definitely affects them. I would say like Doja Cat is a big one, where it's like, girl, you're way too involved with what people, your fans are saying online. Lizzo is another one, Cardi B, and just so many others I can't even like think of off the top of my head. But like, some celebrities are way too in the weeds of like what their fans and stuff are saying. I'm like, y'all are too rich for this. Like, trust me, you don't have to be involved in this. And again, I feel like with them being so involved, it kind of fuels the parasocialness that's already there, and kind of fuels the flames.
I feel like it turns out with some like really funny content, but like honestly, it should have all been avoided. Like you guys, you don't have to. And I feel like a lot of, like you said, like select celebrities, they don't have it down pat. But a lot of influencers, I feel like they have the tendency to feel that they need to respond to everything. And it's like, no, like you don't need to respond. You can just ignore it and act like nothing ever happened. Like at the end of the day, it's gonna go away on its own. And while it does produce some really funny content and everything, it's unfortunately not needed.
But yeah, those are all of our thoughts and feelings about parasocial relationships. This was a topic that I could honestly go on forever. If we like picked out, maybe if we do a part two and you guys like give us like specific like parasocial situations you want us to do a deep dive on and really get into things, that could be a cool episode. Or me and Liz could like pick out some, but I would be down to do a part two because I think parasocial relationships is like, I love talking about this subject.
And there's so much to parasocial relationships, I feel like this is only surface level parasocial relationships. Like if you go into like more specifics and everything, I feel like it gets even crazier the way people just interact and everything. So like definitely I could see a part two in the future for this episode, you guys.
Like even like a quick little, sneak peek, like let's talk about men and athletes, the way some of these men will talk about athletes for the sports teams they root for. I'm like, oh,
Because
that's
people forget that these parasocial relationships aren't just women. Once again, the men are also victims. I don't know if victims are the right word, but they also be partaking in this parasocialness, you guys. It's not just us, and they take it to another extreme. So maybe we could do like a little comparison of the two. New
yes.
podcast idea.
Yeah, new podcast episode next week. That's what we're doing, JK. But thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us everywhere. Again, sorry we didn't upload last week, but we're back on the grind today. Our creative sparks are back. Well, at least I know mine is, hopefully. So, yeah, we have another good episode next week. So, stay tuned for that. We might be spilling some major tea about friendships. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.